Hey everyone, welcome back. Today was one of the best days I've had in GBL in my entire Pokemon Go career. I don't really know what happened today, but I got a 17 win streak and I only ended up losing 3 battles on the entire day using this Ultra League team. This is actually our first time doing Ultra League on the channel, but I think this team is very consistent and it's a very fun team. Only a few tricky matchups like the Skeleturge and the Annihilate Bleed, but I'll show you what this team can do here today. I had so much fun using it, and because we went on a 17 win streak, I'm going to show 17 battles. It'll be a little bit of a longer video, but I hope you guys enjoy. Let's take a look at the gameplay. All right, first battle. Let's see what we have to get into on game number 1 here today. It's going to be the Pidgeot in the lead. This is actually a really good lead for A-Slash, but we are running Shadow Claw, which means we have no fast move pressure against them. If they happen to get a big energy lead, that could be a little bit awkward. Even if we chip them down with Cresselia here, we're not going to be able to just fast move them down. We'll always have to land a charge move, but they safe swapped a Poliwrath. We have our Future Sight Cresselia here, a very hard answer to Poliwrath, and we're going to go for the Future Sight. Now, this is one of the best things about running this moveset rather than running Moonblast, is we can do so much damage even after getting debuffed. Make sure that this Cresselia here, even though it is a very tanky Pokemon, still has a bit of damage output. It also helps having coverage for some of the fire types as well, which A-Slash is weak to, which is one of the main reasons I like running this moveset. We are going to keep switch advantage here, make sure that we land this next Grass Knot here, and now if they let this go, we're in a good spot. If they shield it, we're in an even better spot. I can just keep on winning this matchup, even if they start going down shields. I also have my Blizzard Tentacruel in the backline, so if they would have gone down 2 shields, I would have given up Switch, but they only end up going down 1 shield. But we have Switch and shield advantage here with our Cresselia, and we can get a Future Sight off. Unfortunately, though, we are double debuffed, which means that this Future Sight's not going to do anywhere near as much damage as it would otherwise. We should be able to basically 2-shot them with this, but unfortunately, after those 2 debuffs, you can see it's doing almost nothing. And as I was saying, we have no fast move pressure with our Alolan Sandslash, so while we can absorb all of the energy that they're getting here, I'm not going to be able to just farm them down. I'll probably have to still land a charge move if I want to win this game, but they safe swap here to their Virizion. We have a hard answer with our Tentacruel in the back. GG's to our opponent in game number 1. Alright, our next game, Shadow Alolan Sandslash into a Shadow Steelix, one of the best leads we can see. It could have Earthquake potentially, and if they do, I want to make sure that I keep my A-Slash with some shields loaded, and our Steelix matchups in the backline are a little bit bad, so I want to keep Switch here. That is why I'm throwing the Ice Punch against the Skater before swapping to my own Tentacruel here. This way I can guarantee Switch advantage this game. I can throw that Ice Punch, I can farm this all the way down, come out of this with basically 2 moves. As long as their Gator isn't super high ranked, I get the full farm down here without even needing to throw energy after throwing that Ice Punch, and we'll see what we can do in the backline. They throw yet another move. We did not get debuffed on that first crunch. If they do actually debuff you on that first move, though, you probably do have to shield and farm them all the way down, but even if you do have to invest a shield, we have 100 energy coming out of that matchup. If Steelix comes back in, it's going to have to probably shield twice, or at least once if it wants to survive, but we see the third Pokemon. It is a Lantern, one of the best things our Cresselia could see, so once again, this team is just coming through, making it so we have the proper alignment here. Tentacruel able to scald this thing twice. It's not going to do that much damage, but it will probably put it closer down to Grass Knot range. We also obviously have Drill Run on our Alolan Sandslash here. If we want to land that against that Lantern, that would basically knock them out. And they come in with their Steelix. Obviously, they don't have a huge energy lead here. Worst case scenario would be if they like double bait us with Psychic Fangs and then land a Crunch, and somehow that would be enough to knock us out. But just landing that Drill Run here guarantees that this is going to be in Grass Knot range from our Cresselia. So even if they happen to do that, if our A-Slash ever does go down, we can still win this game. We can still go for these Ice Punches to draw shields. And once shields are down, Cresselia just goes to town. We see this Ice Punch coming through. Are they going to shield this up, or do they let it go? Looks like they're shielding it up, so they are trying to play this out. They did get a nice bait there on that first Psychic Fangs, so we did waste a shield on that, but I do kind of want to get as much damage as I can here with A-Slash. Just double shield, farm us down, or farm as much as we can, and now they throw yet another move. I need to shield this just in case it is a crunch, and what is it going to be? A Psychic Fangs coming through once again. They come in with their Lantern. I try to swap out, but I guess it didn't quite register in time. We do take this move. Unfortunately, our A-Slash will go down, but Cresselia is almost at full health, has energy on it as well. If we can land this Grass Knot farm this thing all the way down, there is no way we can lose this game. In fact, if I can farm this down, if I have a Future Sight loaded, might as well throw that against the Steelix if they let us. They're staying in this matchup, right? So there's not much they can do. They already showed that they're not really having a lot of damage here with this Lantern. After that Spark nerf, it really impacts the Ultra League matchups here. They're doing nothing to our Cresselia here. We get the farm down, or we would have. They top left before we can Future Sight that Steelix. GG's to our opponent. Next game, Alolan Sandslash into the Giratina lead. One of the best leads once again. A-Slash is picking up all the leads. One of the main reasons that I did A-Slash today as an Ultra League pick is because I know for sure A-Slash is a Pokemon people always forget about. I wanted to use it as a big core breaker, and it seems like a lot of people were unprepared for it today. Shadow Feraligatr here will get to some moves. I'm playing it out the exact same way. Every time you see that Shadow Feraligatr safe swap, I'm going to throw an Ice Punch, then swap to my Tentacruel. That's just the most consistent way to play out this matchup, the way that I've found to keep Switch without having to go down any resources myself. They get to another move here, and it is running Crunch, right? So we don't get debuffed, luckily, once again on the first move, or on the second either, for that matter, but we get that full farm down. We have 2 moves to go against whatever they come back in with, and they show us it is actually a Ferrothorn here in the back, and now this Blizzard, it's going to do a lot of damage, but it's not really going to one-shot them or anything, right? This is a very bulky Pokemon, and Grass, although it is weak to this ice typing. Steel is not, so they are just like neutral to Blizzard, I guess. Our Cresselia is actually what we bring in here, though. We saw that good lead, right? It is Giratina in the lead, so if I sponge energy here, and since I do have Future Sight, I can actually do quite a bit of damage, likely just tank all of this energy, make them throw for Power Whips here, and hopefully win the game just by going for these double Future Sights, and hopefully knocking them out with Cresselia, or just drawing a shield. Once shields go in my favor, there's nothing stopping my Alolan Sandslash from just winning this game. They throw yet another Power Whip. It's going to do a lot of damage to us, but it's not going to do anywhere near enough to knock us out. They have to throw probably another 2 more if they want to knock us out here, or maybe catch a move on their Giratina to give them any play. There is a shield. It is kind of embarrassing for them to have to shield when we only have resisted damage, and they have a lot of neutral play, but Cresselia is so bulky. That's why I also like the Future Sight. For some of these worse Steel-type matchups, we at least have some sort of charge move pressure against them, and now our Alolan Sandslash has shield advantage. I've drained all of the energy from this Ferrothorn. We can farm them down, and they just swap to Giratina. At this point, the game is over. They realize that. GG's to our opponent. Our next matchup here is going to be Shadow Alolan Sandslash into the opposing Shadow Alolan Sandslash, I guess. A very awkward lead. I don't have great matchups here in the backline, so winning this matchup here is going to be critical, or making sure that I at least make some good calls, get both shields down, and get at least some sort of advantage out of this matchup. We're going to shield on an Ice Punch. Unfortunately, this means that we did get baited. I'm going to bait in my my own matchup here, see if we can get the shield back, and we do at least. So we aren't really behind here, but I do need to bait again if I want to outpace to the Ice Punch. We already saw that we did end up going and losing that CMP event, which means that we do have to bait again if we want to win this. They go for the drill run. They know I have to bait, though, if I want to outpace them, so I'm just going to go straight for the nuke. It's a risky play. If they end up shielding this, I'm in a lot of trouble, but if it goes through, which it does, we end up taking out the A-Slash, and now we have a basically half-health A-Slash with some energy against the backline. I see they come in with a Feraligatr. Since they stayed in that lead matchup, I'm thinking they might be a little bit weak to our Alolan Sandslash. I want to keep it alive, and I know that once I get some fast move pressure here, I'm going to be able to put this into Grass Knot range for our Cresselia, or maybe if they just stay in, our Tentacruel is going to be able to knock this thing out, or at least chip it down to low enough health where it's not going to be that big of a threat to our Alolan Sandslash. They get another Hydro Cannon through. Looks like this one's probably running Ice Beam with the fact that they're throwing these Hydros rather than Crunches. We're going to go for this move. If they shield it up, that is fantastic. If they no shield, that's even better, because now they're in fast move farm down range. We can get to another Scald, but they would CMP us there, so we're just going to let our Tentacruel go down, and now either farm this down with our Cresselia or with our Alolan Sandslash. What is their third Pokemon going to be? Alright, that's actually fantastic to see. We have energy on our Alolan Sandslash here. We can get the double Drill Run off, and once we do, that's going to put them into Grass Knot range here for our Cresselia. There is almost nothing that our opponent can do now that our Alolan Sandslash has these 2 moves. Even if I didn't, Cresselia is one of the best answers to water types because we have Grass Knot. We are so bulky, and anything that doesn't have super effective damage to Cresselia is in a very bad spot just in general. They do end up throwing a move. Is it a Nature's Madness? Is it a Surf? They do go for the debuff here. We are going to have our defense dropped here 1 stage, but luckily it's not really going to matter. We can just get to this Grass Knot, knock out this Tapu Fini, and there is nothing that they can do with that Feraligatr. They're almost knocked out there, and we can take the win once again against another kind of interesting lead. The Alolan Sandslash Mirror, always a little bit tricky with this, but we were able to win. Speaking of tricky leads, though, the Hippowdon lead, you don't see that too often. Our team is actually ABA weak to ground-type damage, so this is a little bit scary. You can see how much damage these Sand attacks are already doing, and Hippowdon has Weather Ball Rock, which means they can outpace us here. They will get to 2 moves before we will, and because I know they're probably going to go straight Weather Ball here, and I know that we're not going to get knocked out, I'm going to no-shield this, calling that it's not an Earth Power or something like that, and it is just a Weather Ball. We survive, and we throw the Ice Punch. Unfortunately, though, they did swap to their Shadow Feraligatr, which is kind of fine. Normally I throw an Ice Punch here anyway. I can probably come in with my Tentacruel, farm this down as much as I can, leverage as much energy as I can to the backline matchup, and maybe still have some play, because Cresselia into that Hippowdon will be a much better matchup than anything else that we have this game. It is just going to come down to what their third Pokemon is so far, and we do see that they're throwing Hydro Cannons once again. Hydro, not the most efficient move, but it is a very great move just in general. It's not the best against other water types, but it is able to chunk us down quite a bit. This time, though, since we did not get those extra Shadow Claws in the lead, I will have to throw a Scald here to knock out this Feraligatr. They do end up letting it go. I have almost a Scald left over. Who are they going to come in with here? The Hippo would probably have to throw energy or shield if they want to farm us all the way down. I get to the Scald. This is fantastic, because now we're either going to take their second shield or take the knockout. They do end up shielding that. I don't want to give them that huge farm down, so I hard swap to Cresselia here, and they top left, so I guess they're kind of weak to Cresselia in the back. GG's to our opponent. Next matchup here, we have the Alolan Sandslash into the Shadow Dragonite, one of the best leads to see, because Ice is good against Dragon, but they do have superpower, so if I end up going down shields, that could be a little bit tricky. They could probably one-shot us with that Shadow Dragonite, so need to keep that in mind. But if I get shields down just in general this game, then my Cresselia, my Tentacruel also don't have that bad of matchups into it. So getting shields down is going to be key to be able to just consistently win this game. And they throw Crunch with their Shadow Feraligatr here. Obviously, they do actually have Crunch this time. Crunch does do a lot more neutral damage, and we can still survive another one here. We've been kind of lucky not getting debuffed here on these Crunches, at least not on the first one. And since we don't get debuffed on that first one, we can still get that full farm down here. And they did get a debuff on the second Crunch, which puts us even lower. That's actually a little bit better for me, though, at least in my opinion. That means that we're going to be in a much better spot in the backline matchup, likely, because they'll get less farm. But okay, this is probably one of the only Pokemon I wouldn't have wanted to Blizzard. Luckily, they still shield. I could have got a debuff potentially, but we didn't quite go for the Scald. I thought that Blizzard would just be like the better play if I could only get one move off against anything, but not against this. And they have a Skeletor, right? I haven't even talked about this. This is a terrible thing to see. This is one of the things that Future Sight is great for, though. We have Future Sight as a way to kind of neutrally deal with this, and it does pace pretty quickly to these Future Sights with this Psycho Cut fast attack. They do shield up our attack here, which is very nice to see. Skeletor shielding up this attack means that maybe I can land a Drill Run and knock them out, but this is not Great League. That means that they are going to have quite a bit more health here than in Great League. They probably won't get one shot by a move. They swapped to Dragonite. I swapped to my Alolan Sandslash, and here is the tricky thing. I don't know if the Drill Run knocks them out, and I don't know if I can overfarm enough energy to get to two moves against that Skeletor. What I need to do is I need to throw a move right before they're going to get to their own superpower here. Superpower would knock us out. I need to keep my A-Slash alive, but I also need it to be low enough where we're in range of one Incinerate knocking us out, but I don't think we are. I think they get two Incinerates. I think they'll have a Disarming Voice, and I think they might have us here, unfortunately. Drill Run does come through, but as I said, it's not quite enough to knock them out here, and they get the perfect farm down. They have the Disarming Voice. We have the Future Sight, but they take the win against us here. One of our 3 losses today was this game. Obviously, it was a very close matchup. Just barely lost it, though. I felt like including it because it was such a good game. But our next opponent here, another Shadow Dragonite lead. Hopefully, we can actually win this one. We ended up losing the last one, but I think that most of the time we should be in a decent spot against these. This time they are staying in. I'm going to throw instantly. It's always kind of a coin flip. Are they going to swap after 5? Are they going to swap after 6? Are they going to swap at all in this matchup? But I do just throw instantly, and getting that early shield is fantastic. Now it's in range where a Future Sight from Crest will knock them out after these Shadow Claws, and it's going to be much easier to get to a Future Sight against this now that one shield is gone. If I can get the second shield, that would be great, but they end up catching on a Poliwrath. So ABA weak to Charm so far, but we do have a Cresselia once again for this Pokemon. We can bring this in, hopefully farm up a lot of energy to have against that Dragonite if they happen to come back in with it, and maybe our Tentacruel is going to have play into the backline. It just depends. Is it a Registeel? Because Shadow Dragonite Registeel is a very common duo, and they probably do need a Charm Resist, honestly, on this team. If they don't have one, that's kind of crazy, but we'll just have to see, I guess, at this point. Ultra League is sometimes hard to read. We go for the Future Sight, and now we're going to farm them all the way down here. Hopefully have about 100 energy to come out of this matchup. They might go for an Icy Wind to debuff us. They might go for a Scald for the raw damage. What move is this Poliwrath going to throw? They go for Scald. Good play, honestly. I think that just getting the raw damage here is a little bit more useful than the debuff potential, and we do get that full farm down before another move is reached. We have these Future Sights. Obviously, Moonblast would be super effective, but Future Sight is such a strong move. I think it doesn't matter. They have to shield this if they don't want to get knocked out, and we actually hard swap into our Alolan Sandslash. They are triple weak to Fairy with this team. That is a Virizion in the back. With that said, we are in such a good position here still. We have the ability to maybe get to 2 Ice Punches here. Even if we don't, we have 2 Pokemon in the back that just hard wall this, but we do get to that 3rd Ice Punch, or the 2nd one, I guess, against this, and this will knock them out, and we still have a full health Tentacruel. We still have a Cresselia here with Future Sight that we almost can get to. We can just shield it, get to the Future Sight, and it is on a CMP here, which means that if I shield this up, I don't even need my 3rd Pokemon this game. Future Sight will easily knock them out from this range. We'll go for it, and we have it. They don't have the 2nd Dragon Claw. Future Sight easily enough to close up the backline. Once again, one of the main reasons I love using this moveset. Future Sight set me up for that Poliwrath farm down and won me the game. Alright, our next opponent, what are we going to see? It is the Tapu Fini lead. This is a very neutral lead matchup here, but I have 2 much better answers in the back. The way I like to try to play this out is try to catch a Surf on my Tentacruel here. So I'm going to go to 7 Shadow Claws, try to catch, but they actually called the swap. They come into their Shadow Dragonite. They save their energy here on Tapu Fini. But once again, I'm kind of fine with this play. They CMP actually on this Scald, which is kind of an odd play by them. I could have got a full Poison Jab Sneak if I would have gone for the Blizzard instead. But I felt like they wouldn't throw right then, and I guess I made a mistake by doing that. But they might still shield this. This would do a lot of damage here to the Dragonite. They do end up shielding. No debuff, unfortunately. But I think they'll have to throw energy again if they want to get the knockout before I can get to another Scald, which they do. We have an Ice Punch loaded on our Alolan Sandslash, and even though we didn't get the catch quite right here, I can overfarm a little bit if I want, make it so I have basically back-to-back moves, and also have a shield advantage after getting a shield from this Dragonite. I think we're still in a pretty good spot as long as the backline is not a terrible Pokemon to see. What is their 3rd Pokemon? We actually see them come in with it here. It's a Virizion, which is actually super fine, I think, in my opinion, because our Cresselia is good against both at this point, and we have so much energy on our Alolan Sandslash that even if they happen to knock out our Cresselia, we basically get to 2 Ice Punches against that Virizion. We just want to get this final shield down, but with that said, I don't think this is Grass Knot range yet. Not quite. I'll have to get 2 Grass Knots off here, and Nature's Madness actually kind of putting in some work here, making it so these water guns are tripping us down quite a bit. I'm going to shield up this next move because I think that this move, this Nature's Madness, rather, would do more damage than a Leaf Blade would, and we're going to overfarm a little bit. I could have overfarmed maybe a little bit more, but I don't know. At this point, I can probably get to a future sight. You can probably get to 2 Ice Punches. I think I should have this game as long as we can swap out and clear the debuff, because at this point we are double debuffed. It would do so much damage if they do land a Leaf Blade. Shield this up, swap to A-Slash. That might be a crazy play, I know, but I think that after clearing the debuff, Cresselia can survive 2 Leaf Blades. It'll be close, though. We get to 1 Ice Punch. We can probably get to a second one here very soon, which we just barely do. If they get the perfect farm down and they can actually get to 2 Leaf Blades, though, this might make this game very close. If I get knocked out here in 2 more Sacred Swords, or double kicks that is rather, we will be in a bit of a tricky spot, because that means they are now at back-to-back Leaf Blades. Will 2 Leaf Blades be enough to knock out a Cresselia from this range? 1 comes through. That's going to be very close. Is this going to knock us out? Can Cresselia hang on with 1 HP? It's a good Cress. It's a bulky Pokemon. Just barely 1 HP survive. We have the future sight here. Cresselia holding on, getting to this move, and knocking out this Virizion in the backline. Maybe I played that a little bit bad. I don't know. It should have been a much more clean win in my opinion, but we'll still take it, right? 1 HP Cresselia in the back. Love to see it. All right, the Skarmory lead. Are we sure we're not in Open Great League? I don't know. This is a 2383 CP Skarmory, a hundo. It doesn't quite max out to 2500, but it's a very fun pick. Luckily, a Alolan Sandslash here is able to get these Ice Punches off, and since they do have only resisted charge attacks, they probably don't want to throw them there, and they end up swapping out to a Shadow Feraligatr. Once again, when I see this Pokemon, I play it out the same exact way, come in with my Tentacruel after throwing an Ice Punch, and try to farm it all the way down. I'll be able to have 2 Scalds against that Skarmory if they come back in with it, and if they don't, I'll be able to see the 3rd Pokemon, kind of make decisions based off of that, and hopefully win this game. This time they're throwing the Hydro Cannons, though. Maybe if they get to 3 Hydro Cannons, I'll have to shield. If that is the case, that's a little bit uncomfortable here. We'll have to see if they do get to that 3rd before I can farm them down. But even if they do, I'm fine shielding. I'll have 100 energy. I'll be able to throw Scald against that Skarmory, against whatever might be in the backline. We should still be in a good position. They throw another Hydra. They do get it. They get our shield, which is the first time a Feraligatr here has got a shield from us. I've seen some high rank ones as well that might take like 1 less damage from poison jabs that are also able to get to that move. Maybe that was the case there, but I don't know. We see the Skarmory also come back in. For some reason, they aren't throwing energy. I guess they probably didn't have a move quite yet, but we do get to 2 Scalds. It will knock them out if they let this go. And what is their 3rd Pokemon going to be? Well, this is just a Great League team. They have a Shadow Swampert in the back. Luckily, Cresselia is an extremely bulky Pokemon who has Grass-type damage. If I just no-shield 2 Hydras, I can get off 2 Grass Knots. There is nothing they can do. Even if they come back in with Skarmory here, I have Future Sight, so there is no way Skarmory can take us out here. Grass Knot will come through. Are they going to shield this? Are they going to let it go? They end up letting it go. 1-shots the Swampert. In comes the Skarmory. They might be able to get to a Brave Bird or a Sky Attack, but even a Brave Bird probably doesn't knock me out because of how bulky Cresselia is and how underpowered Skarmory is here in the Ultra League. They go for a Sky Attack. That doesn't do anything to us here. We have the Future Sight. I think at this point, Future Sight might even do more damage than that Sky Attack just did. Let's take a look. It probably did there, honestly. It knocks out the Skarm, taking the win against that Skarmory lead in that game. All right, GG's to them. Next opponent is going to be the Tapu Fini, a very interesting lead matchup. Once again, going to try to catch a Surf if I can, go after 7 Shadow Claws, and then swap to Tentacruel, because Tentacruel is so much better into this, and so is Cresselia, honestly, so I want to save energy, but I also want to make sure that I can potentially bait out something problematic in the backline. What are they going to come in with here? It is going to be that Giratina, so a fantastic thing to bait out. I do have the ability to go for Blizzard here. Blizzard would basically one-shot them. Not quite, it wouldn't really one-shot them, but it would put them so low at this point that my A-Slash could easily farm them down, or just draw a shield, right? If I get shield advantage this game, that is going to be amazing. This is the main reason I have Blizzard, is just to guarantee shields against Pokemon like this. If they don't shield, I'll do a lot of damage. If they shield, which they do, I guess now I have shield advantage this game, so hopefully we're in a good spot having that. They throw another move here. They might have to throw yet again if they want to knock us out before we can get to another Blizzard. Let's see, they do. They don't even overfarm that much, but our A-Slash has a lot of energy. I can probably get to 2 Ice Punches before they can get to these Shadow Sneaks to knock me out, or I guess they wouldn't knock us out here, but I don't really want to take chip damage if I can help it. So if I can knock this out before taking a charge move, then I'm going to throw my energy immediately here, make sure I get this out of the way so our Cresselia does not have to deal with it. One bad thing about not running Moonblast, obviously, is these Dragon types are a little bit harder to get taken out, just because we have that Future Sight attack. Oh my goodness. Okay, one of the worst things I could see in the backline here, I transfer the Incinerate damage, so I only took 1, and I have a decent amount of energy, but the worst thing about this is they have that Tapu Fini still, right? So they can kind of absorb energy here, and if they just save all of their resources at this point for that Skeleturge, this could be kind of uncomfortable to deal with. Our Cresselia is weak to Ghost, our A-Slash is weak to Fire, so how are we going to be able to win this game? I'm not quite sure. They go for a Nature's Madness, though, which is kind of nice to to see. That means that they waste a little bit more energy. I can overfarm just a little bit more, and I was already going to be in range where maybe a Disarming Voice would knock us out later on, so I think going for that higher energy move might have been a little bit of a misplay by them. But here's the thing, if I shield this up, if I can draw a shield, I can probably get to a drill run with our A-Slash. If they no shield, there's a chance I can just Shadow Claw them down later on, because I think I survived one Incinerate on a Alolan Sandslash. We get this Future Sight off. Are they going to shield, or are they going to let this go? They probably have to let this go, knowing that I could drill run them, and that would do more damage, which is what they end up doing. We CMP on this Grass Knot here. I know at this point, if they no shield this, I should be able to Shadow Claw them down. If they shield, I could probably go for the Shadow Claw down or Shadow Claw into the Ice Plunge play here, potentially knock out this Fire type with our Ice type. They end up no shielding that, we Shadow Claw them down, and we can take the win just barely against that huge Core Breaker in the backline. And okay, wow, the Shiftry in the lead, not exactly a Pokemon that you see too often here in the Go Battle League, especially in the Ultra League. This is a very interesting pick. Foul Play, obviously a very hard-hitting move. It could probably get a 2-shot against our Shadow Alolan Sandslash just with how attack-weighted Shiftry is. They shielded that first attack here. I know I can survive one from them, but I'm kind of interested to see how much damage this will do. It actually does quite a bit. It puts us well below half health, maybe into range where Snarls plus Leaf Blades could knock us out here, but I know at this point I haven't shielded. They've already shielded once. They probably have to let this through, which is good. We get a lot of damage against them. This Shiftry actually doing quite a bit of work into our Ice type here. We catch a Foul Play onto our Tentacruel. They do have a little bit of residual here. They're probably pretty close to another Foul Play or a Leaf Blade, so we have to keep that in mind just in case they keep their Shiftry around, which looks like they do swap out. So it is a little bit awkward if we have to either Psycho Cut or Shadow Claw that down later on, but we did sneak a Poison Jab before they were able to swap out, so we did get a decent amount of damage. They're probably within 1 or 2 fast moves away from getting knocked out. They actually answer our Tentacruel with their own Tentacruel. Not exactly the hardest answer here, but they probably can just guarantee switch advantage after that Foul Play catch. I am chipped down a little bit more, even though I have an energy lead. I'm not doing anything with these Scalds, these Poison Jabs as well. Just a little bit of chip every now and then when I throw these moves, and it's not getting any debuffs as well, so no debuffs so far on either side. If we can get this next move, that would be great, but they actually throw right before we get to ours, and they end up almost having another move, I think, left over at this point, too. I can come up with our Alolan Sandslash, though, build up a lot of extra energy. They did stay in that lead matchup, right? Maybe they only stayed in that because they had the Tentacruel in the back of their ABA weak that way, or maybe they're just really weak to A-Slash here. Maybe it's double poison, something like that. If that is the case, I think A-Slash could still be a very impactful Pokemon, so I'm going to shield it. I'm going to get double Ice Punch. If they shield, I can throw again. If they don't, I guess we'll see what they do. And they come in with their Shiftry now. I can shield this up. I can farm them down and have a move loaded for the backline. If it is something like a fighter, I have my Cresselia for that. Anything else, I think energy on A-Slash is still going to have a lot of play, and there it is. It actually is a double poison lineup. That is a Galarian Weezing here, a very interesting Pokemon, a Pokemon very weak to ground type damage. They'll have to throw energy against us if they want to knock us out before we can get to this next drill run, which they do, but we have Future Sight Cresselia. That's going to almost one-shot them from this point, so now we come in with this. They're probably going to stay in just because I could be running Moonblast in Grass Knot. If I were, then I would have no charge move pressure here, but since I do have Future Sight, I'm basically going to one-shot this poison type Pokemon here. Let's see how much damage we can do with Cresselia. Future Sight has been reached. Tap in all the bubbles that we can here, and it is going to land, and it is just going to knock them all the way out there. The most damage a Cresselia has ever done. I swear, that's just so cool to see. Okay, the Registeel, one of the most awkward Pokemon for our team to deal with, mainly because our backline is so weak to it, and also our Alolan Sandslash is not the most consistent answer in Ultra League. Drill Run does not quite two-shot, and if they go for like the baits and try to go for baits with their Zap Cannon and debuff our attack on Alolan Sandslash, it just gets very bad for us. But we go for the play that we normally do against these Feraligators, but they do happen to get a debuff, which does kind of suck for us. I probably have to shield this. I probably have to farm them all the way down now. Can I even farm them down here? This Feraligator looks like it might be kind of good here. If it is a good Gator, I do have to throw energy, which it looks like this one is. I have to throw the Scald. And now this game's kind of unwinding at this point, right? I can't go down 2 shields. If I do that, Registeel just one-shots my A-Slash. I also want to keep Switch, so I can't get my Cresselia against that Registeel, but I think my only way to win this game is just calling their bluff that they might be kind of weak to my Alolan Sandslash in the backline. If they don't have a hard answer here, there's a chance we could still win this game, but okay, this is a Tapu Fini. That's not the best thing for our Alolan Sandslash to see, but it does have a little bit of play into this. I'm going to throw the Drill Run, try to do what I can here against this. It does do a decent amount of damage. If I can catch a Surf on our Cresselia, we could still potentially win this game. They throw energy against us. Is this a Surf? If it is, there might still be a little bit of wiggle room, even though we're going to be locked in with Cresselia into Registeel. Since we do have Future Sight, since we got that catch off, I'll be able to have a little bit of an advantage both on my Alolan Sandslash and on my Cresselia here. Future Sight should do a decent amount of damage, not anywhere near as much as you want it to, but if I can do enough damage with my Cresselia, if I can put this into range, or I could knock them out with a Drill Run with my Alolan Sandslash, there is the slimmest of chances that I could still have play here. Zap Cannon does come through. It doesn't get the attack drop. That is critical. If I got debuffed there is no way any of these Future Sights would do enough damage to put them into a range where a Drill Run would knock knock them out. We're going to go for the Future Sight here. It is not doing a lot of damage, right? But after 2, they're almost at half health. We get the third off. This should put them in the yellow. At this point, maybe after some Shadow Claws, after a Drill Run, I could knock out this Reggie with our A-Slash. This is looking potentially playable. Not super great for us, but still playable in the slightest. And if that is the case, if I can have perfect energy management with our Shadow Alolan Sandslash, there is the slimmest chance that we can win this game. I go for the bait on the Ice Punch here. I almost have the Drill Run. If I can land Drill Run on both the Tapu Fini and get this bait off and Drill Run this Registeel, I should be able to win this game. We land the Drill Run. Is this enough to knock them out? I need it to be. They have a Surf almost loaded on the Tapu Fini. It knocks them out. They have their Fini, but I know they're not at back-to-back moves. If I can outpace them here, get to this next Drill Run, then I might have flipped this game. I might be able to pull it just out of nowhere, getting to this Drill Run and knocking out this Tapu Fini. Shadow Alolan Sandslash putting in so much work this game. I don't know how it did it. Honestly, that was actually a sweep, right? We took out the Gator, we took out the Fini, and we took out the Registeel, all with Shadow Alolan Sandslash. GG's to our opponent. And the Greedent in the lead, one of the most awkward leads for our team, just because if it does have Crunch, obviously they have a lot of play into us, into all three of our Pokemon. They have Mudshot for our A-Slash, Mudshot for our Tentacruel as well, and then Crunch and Body Slam spam is very hard to deal with all of our Pokemon, but I'm just going to stay in for a minute, try to strip them down as much as possible, maybe like strip a shield or two, because if I can get a shield down, there is a decent chance that I can land a Future Sight or Scald or something later on, but they are staying in. That was a Body Slam that they threw. Why would they Body Slam my Shadow Alolan Sandslash? There is one reason I can think. Maybe they have Trailblaze instead of Crunch. If that is the case, there is a chance we still have a little bit of play, and they swapped into their Talonflame here. I have my Tentacruel, a very hard answer to fire types in general, and since this is not a Skeleturge, I do a decent amount of fast move pressure as well. We do land that move. They don't try to like two-shield through us, which is very nice to see, but now a Tentacruel is their third Pokemon. A very interesting matchup overall. I think, though, we have a lot of play. Tentacruel does not have a lot of play into our Alolan Sandslash or into our Cresselia, and if I can keep our Cresselia a secret right now, maybe there's a chance that I can get shields down with our Alolan Sandslash, and then maybe I can sweep in the backline, landing Future Sights, landing Grass Knots, and winning the game that way. I'm going to actually bank some energy there. I know the full team, right? So now, if I just keep that energy for the backline, there's a chance I can Scald this Greedent, there's a chance maybe I can Scald something else later on, and these Drill Runs, they're going to do a lot of damage to this Greedent as well, even though it didn't land against that Tentacruel. Honestly, that might be a better case scenario that they threw it against, or that I threw it against the Greedent, just because now I can chip it down a lot more, I can get a lot of damage against this, and yeah, they are running Trailblaze, they buffed their attack there, so very interesting moveset. They end up letting that go. At this point, they have to throw 2 moves if they want to knock us out before we get to another Ice Punch, and if that is going to be what happens here, I'm just going to have so much energy on my Tentacruel. I have my Cresselia as well in the backline. There is almost no way I can see myself losing this game at this point. I've chipped down the Tentacruel quite a bit, but if I can land another Scald onto it, which I should be able to, there's a chance I could just put them into Grass Knot range, making it much easier for Cresselia to knock them out. Scald does come through. Are they going to shield this or let it go? I'm assuming they let it go because it's a Scald, right? They know it's a Scald. They know it's not going to do a lot, but at this point, I know Cresselia, as long as we don't shield an Acid Spray on our first move, that is the one way to lose this game. We're going to no-shield just in case it is a spray. It's a Scald, though, so very good stuff. That means our defense is not lowered, and we can get to 3 Grass Knots very easily before they're able to get to like the 5 or 6 Scalds that they need to knock out a Cresselia at this point. Scald is reach once again, but no debuff on our attack stat. Even if they did, Grass Knot plus Psycho Cuts are going to be more than enough to knock them out here. Grass Knot comes through. They end up realizing there's not much they can do there. GG's to our opponent, Cresselia, closing out the backline. Alright, our next match here, Shadow Alolan Sandslash into the Shadow Dragonite. A very, very good lead for us. If I can get shields down once again, I'm going to be in a good spot. Always have to watch for catches. They always love to try to catch. This time I throw after 6 to make sure that they don't catch on 5, but they could have also caught on 6. It's a huge coin flip every time you throw a move with this Pokemon, but now they're staying in even more here. I think they're going to try to catch. In my opinion, I'm just going to keep doing fast attacks because they have stayed in so long at this point. They probably are going to try to catch right now, and they do, but they come in with a Tentacruel. Not exactly the best answer here to our Shadow Alolan Sandslash. I can overfarm a lot, get to a Drill Run, and then absorb all of their energy on our Tentacruel. The best thing about Tentacruel is it walls Tentacruel's energy. There's no moveset it could have that would do more than resisted damage. It has Acid Spray, Sludge Wave, Blizzard, Scald. I don't know if it has any other charge moves, but I'm pretty sure, well, maybe Hydro Pump actually. After getting that Drill Run off, I put them into single Scald range. I'm in range where I need like 3 or 4 Scalds to get knocked out. I can overfarm to 100, have energy for the backline, also have energy on my Alolan Sandslash here. I think we are in a great position to win this game. They did debuff our attack, which means that the Scalds from our own Tentacruel won't do quite as much damage to them as I'd like them to, but that's fine. We'll see what they come in with it, and it's actually going to be a Feraligatr. Okay, yeah, I mean, I don't think they should have known the game was over, but it was over. I think that was a bit of a preemptive top left by them. But we still had so much play, I think, with our Cresselia in the back. Okay, a fire type lead. Luckily, not one of the worst ones we could see. This is a Shadow Charizard Pokemon with a lot of flying type fast move pressure. If this was like a Talonflame, we'd be kind of just shaking in our boots right now. Luckily, though, we can just like resist the fast move pressure. We can go for these ice punches, outpace them. The only way we lose this matchup is if we let a Blast Burn through, or if we get double baited by Dragon Claws, and then they can land a Blast Burn on even pacing in the 2-shield matchup. But we do end up getting a shield there, and they swap to their Registeel. This is exactly what we needed to see happen. Registeel is a problematic Pokemon for our entire team. If Shields went down in that lead matchup, we would have basically lost this game, but by them trying to catch an Ice Punch on Reggie, now we have quite a bit of play. I land another drill run here. They let them both go, which is very interesting to see. Maybe I can Shadow Claw this all the way down. Even if I can't, I should still have a lot of play just with my backline now that we've got this Registeel out of the way. And our Tentacruel is going to have a great matchup into that Charizard, right? We can resist all of the fire type damage. They have Dragon Claw, they have Wing Attack, but at this point they're pretty low on that. The shields are not up as much as they'd probably like them to be. I throw this Ice Punch because we see the Virizion come through, and Virizion is a Pokemon my backline loves to see. I also know that I have so much play with my Tentacruel into both that Shadow Charizard and this Virizion. No reason to let myself get farmed down there. Just save energy on my Alolan Sandslash, build up to Scald on my Tentacruel, and hopefully farm this Virizion all the way down so I can start scalding that Charizard once it comes back in. They do end up getting to another Leaf Blade. If they get to a third, it could be a little bit awkward, but if they don't, then I can farm them all the way down and be outside of range where I could get knocked out easily by that Charizard. I'm going to throw this move just to guarantee either a shield or the knockout. Once I get shields down, I have Future Sight Cresselia, I have Ice Punch on my Alolan Sandslash. There's not much they can do this game. They throw a move. I might just barely survive a Dragon Claw. I know I'd get knocked out by a Blast Burn. They go for Dragon Claw. I survive it on 1 HP. I have the Scald. I have an Ice Punch. Now that I've landed this move, there is absolutely nothing they can do this game. They have to shield this up, but they realize I also have an Ice Punch. Not much they can do once I get that. GG's to our opponent there. All right, our next matchup, we're going to see the Shadow Ampharos in the lead. A bit of a problematic Pokemon for the backline because it could have Brutal Swing, it could have Thunder Punch, two charge moves that our backline really would not want to see. I'm going to at least threaten that. I'm going to go for these drill runs against this, but I know for a fact that they're not at a Focus Blast. They just threw after 3. I can survive that move. I can go straight Ice Punch here and still have a very strong matchup against this Ampharos. If I can get shields down, then my Cresselia, my Tentacruel in the backline are going to have a lot less work to do, and they throw another move. I don't go for the CMP because I know for a fact I lose that, so I'm going to overfarm if I can and see what they're going to bring in at this point. They actually hard swap to an Annihilate, but luckily we have a very hard answer to that with Cresselia. Annihilate is a little bit of a tricky Pokemon for our entire team though. Alolan Sandslash obviously is very weak to fighting. Our Tentacruel has resisted fast move damage against this, and the Shadow Balls do add up. And as you can see here, Shadow Ball basically getting us all the way into the red already. Even though this is Ultra League, Cresselia is not able to survive that super easily, so we do go for the Future Sight, and we're going to try to knock this out as soon as we can here. Overfarm as much as possible, still to maybe get some energy off against that Ampharos when it comes back in, but I do need to take it out before they get to back-to-back Night Slashes. Now that we are in Night Slash range, so they do throw it, they have their next Night Slash right now, but luckily Future Sight will be more than enough and be able to knock out this Annihilate. Now that we don't have to deal with that, hopefully our backline's going to be in a good spot here. We can get to the Grass Knot here against this Ampharos as well. Maybe I could have got to that Future Sight, but I think they probably would have thrown energy before I would have got that. And I know this is basically going to knock them out here, and they end up swapping. I don't know why they hard swapped here, but they swapped into a Swampert. This is fantastic to see. I think we could win this game without landing this Grass Knot just because I'd be in a good spot with my energy on my Alolan Sandslash, and I don't think I get knocked out by an Earthquake with our Tentacruel, but still, landing that Grass Knot is just going to be so much more consistent of just winning this game, and now we can probably Shadow Claw down this Ampharos and take the game without even showing our Tentacruel. That could have been a very close backline, but luckily Cresselia just way too bulky, getting to so many Grass Knots. Alright, our next opponent using their Oranguru? What is this? Not exactly the most common Pokemon to see in the Open Ultra League, but it actually might have a decent amount of play into our Alolan Sandslash. We're not running Powder Snow, so our fast attacks are resisted into them. We have very weak charge moves. Well, Drill Run's not weak, but it's non-stab. Ice Punch is a very mid-tier charge move at that, so I don't two-shot them, and they can basically two-shot us. Even though they have Confusion, which is resisted against us, they have so much fast move pressure, they have foul plays, and this is looking kind of bad. I don't want to go down shields if I can help it, and I want to keep my Alolan Sandslash alive if I can. It seems like this is probably going to be their best answer to it, or at least one of their answers. I want to keep it around, so I'm going to catch this foul play on our Tentacruel. Obviously, Confusion is super effective, but foul plays are not. They come in with a Zygarde complete. Another very spicy pick, but one that's much scarier, honestly, than that Oranguru. I do have Blizzard here. I know I survived this, but that was after 7. This could be an Outrage. It is, but we still survive. We can get off this Scald. They probably do have to respect a Blizzard, so I did go for the bait just in case I can get 2 moves off here. There's a chance a Scald will actually get shielded, and then I can get to another one, which I just barely can. This chip damage could be useful. I don't know. If it puts it into range where a future sight knocks them out, that's a really nice thing to see. Honestly, baiting this out so our Cresselia doesn't have to see it is going to be kind of pivotal, I think, in winning this game. It's really going to come down to what their third Pokemon is and how much play our Cresselia is going to have. They go for Crunch, it draws a shield, and we can go for Ice Punch here, but I want to overpower him as much as possible. And in comes that Monkey. That's why we wanted this energy. I wanted to make sure I could knock it out when it comes back in. And if that Zygarde comes back in, I want to swap, or I want to stay in and throw the Ice Punch. If something else comes in, I probably want to swap. What is it going to be that comes in here? It's a Poliwrath. I try to swap out, but it looks like after that frame drop there, I actually took a counter, a debuffed counter, unfortunately. So we took so much damage on our A-Slash that we shouldn't have. There's a chance now that we're going to be so low on our Alolan Sandslash, maybe we're in Dragon Tail downrange, which could be very bad to see. Luckily, we do have the Future Sight here. We're going to throw it against this Poliwrath. Hopefully, either knock them out or do enough damage to put them in range where they're not going to be that big of a threat, but they end up shielding that. I'm kind of fine with that shield, though, in my opinion. That means now I don't have to worry about baiting or nuking, and if I can land an Ice Punch against that Zygarde, I'm just going to be in a good spot. In comes their Zygarde, though. This is going to be kind of awkward because obviously I have my Cresselia here, right? Not exactly the best thing to try to throw these future sights into. I need this energy for that Poliwrath later on, but I have my Alolan Sandslash alive as well. But they get to a move here. I have a move on my A-Slash, but I also know that I can't give that Poliwrath too much energy. If they can get to a Scald, there's a chance I lose this game, but I need this thing gone. I need to knock out this Zygarde before they get any more damage against us. We throw the Ice Punch, we get farmed down. Can I reach the future sight? Will it be enough to knock them out? At least before they can get to another charge move. I don't know. I don't think this quite knocks them out, but I might be able to fast move down. Let's see. It's a race. Can they get to a Scald before we Psycho Cut down? They cannot. We take the win against that Poliwrath, and we can win once again with this incredible team. Honestly, that was such an insane run today, and this is our last 5-0 that you can see here. This was our last game of our 17-win streak. We, I guess, are still on the streak. I haven't played a game since this, so this streak is technically still going on. A fantastic day in the Go Battle League. One of the best days that I can remember, honestly. And what does this get us up to? I think it gets us up pretty high here on the leaderboards, at least into the 3200s at this point. Almost a 300-point climb day. And look at that, 32-24, one of the best climbs that I've ever seen myself do in the Go Battle League. This team was so fun. There are a few issues with it. As we've seen today, Skeleturge can be a problem, same with Annihilate, but just avoid those leads and you're going to be in a great spot. Alright, well, thank you so much for watching today's video. I stream Pokemon Go PvP nearly every day at twitch.tv/ItsAXN, so if you want to see this kind of content live, make sure to check me out there. Also, I'm going to upload a lot more to the channel, so if you enjoyed this video and videos like this, make sure to subscribe. Alright, well, thank you again for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.